Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Dr. Joey interviews Christian business professionals just like you to discover their secrets for working faith positive in a negative world. Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett.
Hey, Faith Positive Nation, Dr. Joey Fawcett here with another episode of Faith Positive Radio. And today I have an amazing opportunity to talk with someone that is going to join the conversation that you and I and millions of other Americans are having every single day. Because if you aren't having it, you will have it before the week's over. And that is about your health and how to best take care of yourself, and also about the healthcare system that we find ourselves navigating. Is that a good word? Navigating here in America and trying to figure out how do we really take care of our health? You know, these are the temples that God has given us, these bodies of ours. And so it's a matter of stewardship. How do we best treat our bodies? How do we best take care of our bodies so that we can continue to minister to others in Jesus' name? And so today's guest has written a book called Trusted Healers. And it's an amazing story that I really want to encourage you to go to Amazon and get. If you're walking yourself or your dog, or you're on a treadmill or something right now, you can go to his page on our website at getpositive.today. And there's a link there. You can just head over to Amazon in your account and pick up your copy of Trusted Healers today. The author is with me. His name is Dan Pelino. Dan, welcome to Faith Positive Radio.
Thanks, Joey. Wonderful to be here.
Delighted to have you on, Dan. So as I mentioned earlier, if we're not having the conversation today, we're going to have it tomorrow, certainly by the end of the week. And that's about our health. Now, the older I get, the more I find myself in conversations about health and thinking about health. And I'm within eyeshot of Medicare. So just thinking about what procedures I can put off until I get on Medicare, right?
Right.
So it's a constant conversation. And yet for we Christian business professionals, it's a matter of stewardship as well. So tell us what prompted you to research and write this book, Trusted Healers.
Well, I started by working with IBM for a long time. I actually worked for IBM for 36 years and ran our global healthcare and life sciences business, our government business, our education business. And so I had a chance to see some of the world's leaders in healthcare do some amazing things. And as I did, I retired from IBM, and a publisher came to me and said, Dan, we really want you to tell your story, because your story is an aspirational story about what you've seen in healthcare, and people would be very interested in this. And so we approached it from a standpoint of what I saw in the best practices around the world, how we could make a difference. And at the back of the book, Joe, we actually give people questions to ask their doctor, things that they could pass on to their family, and some little tests, if you will, to see how you're doing, and then some things that you can go do yourself.
Okay.
When we went through this process, what we found is that people can get to their hospital systems less, they can spend less money, they can live longer, and it's not that difficult once you start thinking about it.
Wow. So what you were able to do, Dan, was to collect best practices from healthcare systems that you saw all over the world.
That's right. That's exactly right. And when I was a little kid, Joey, I got to tell you something. My parents gave me a book. It was the 100 Greatest Athletes. And it was one page on Babe Ruth and Thea Gibson and Lou Brock and all these people. You probably recognize many of these names.
Oh, I know those names well, yeah.
Yeah, listeners would too. So I would go to bed at night and I would read a one page on each of them. There was a picture and something about them and all of their accomplishments. And so Trusted Healers ends up being just like that, with pages about what work we did with Nelson Mandela, people in the United States, people around the world, and bring these stories of aspiration to people that may not be aware of these stories, and then put it into a real practical use around the middle home and the stories. And so it goes back to when I was a little kid reading a book like that of aspiration. And then they said, Dad, you've seen some of the best in the world. Why don't you write a book about it? And that's how we got to Trusted Healers.
Oh, wow. I wonder if your mom knew and giving you that book, she would start this.
Uh,
Oh, we never know when we give our kids something, right?
that's a good question. I should ask her.
Yeah, you should. So, tell me more about the primary care medical home movement. What is that all about?
So the medical home movement is around having care 7 by 24, a healthcare system. And it's not about an individual primary care doctor, it's about a team care model.
Hmm.
So if you were to think about how most people have a doctor, they might have a single primary care physician. And they call and they want to get in and they can't get an appointment for months on end. They struggle then to have follow-up because the person's just too busy. So it's sort of like a cowboy coming into town and that doctor comes to see you and then they leave town and then they don't come back. And the analogy I'd like to share with you is that we're in this race of our life, like a NASCAR. And we're out there going as fast as we can and do the things we want. And Joey, we want a pit crew. We want RNs,
Hmm.
PAs. We want nutritionists. We want people helping us with stress. We want people helping us with nicotine challenges that we might have. Anything
Hmm.
that might have mental behavioral and have them call us in. And so we're out there on a NASCAR track and we get that, hey, it's time to come in for your physical. You need to
Hmm.
come in because your blood pressure's running a little
Hmm.
high. You need to be able to come and get your immunization shots.
Hmm.
And you come in and they take care of you and people practice at the top of their learned license and you go back out and you're in the race of your life. And that's
Hmm.
the kind of system that you want to be a part of. So instead of just a doctor, you're part of a medical home system.
Hmm. Hmm.
And about 48% of the hospital systems and the physician groups are practicing some level of this today. As a matter of fact, you can go and ask them, are you home? And they'll tell you if they are. And you'll be happy if you're in a medical home because it's a complete care. It's a continuum of care. It's not just a one and done kind of conversation, but it's about your health and having an advocate for your health.
Hmm. I also hear you moving the needle there from an illness to a wellness model, Dan.
Well, thank you. The United States, for sure, we built sick care, and it started in 1911 or so when we had some reports that came out about what healthcare should look like.
Hmm.
And what they came back said you needed to have medical schools that taught medical education, bioeducation, and then do hands-on practice. That created specialty care. And we
Hmm.
really did not, as a country, spend a lot of time on primary care, on well care.
Hmm.
Joey, we only spend about 5 to 7% of our dollars on primary care, where the best performing countries in the world spend 14 to 20%. And we
Hmm.
wonder why we're last in the World Health Organization and our life expectancy has gone down for men over the last 3 years. We're just not doing a good job doing what you just said, moving from sick care to well care. And you know
Hmm.
we can. We can definitely move to a well care society.
Hmm. Yeah, because if we wait until something's wrong to try to fix it, that's like trying to change flat tire while you're going down the road still, right? You either got to pull over and change
Well,
flat tire,
you're so right.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Well, not only you're right here, but also we're not encouraging more people to become RNs and PAs and primary
mm,
care physicians. Dr. Doug Henley, who is the president of the American Academy of Family Physicians, says we're going to have a shortage of 33,000 primary care docs by the year 2030.
mm,
We don't have enough people coming into that well care environment. So we
mm,
need to encourage this. We need to have this level of aspirational conversation and be able to count on our systems to help us move from sick care to well care, as you say.
yeah. Now, Dan, knowing you to be a man of faith, tell me how your faith interacts with this movement from illness to wellness and how it motivates you in terms of writing The Trusted Healers and trying to share this information.
Well, let me tell you a little story. So
Uh-huh.
I would end up giving lots of speeches working for IBM, and I had a chance to bring artificial intelligence into healthcare and see these
Mm,
best practices and
mm,
work with people on oncology and look at the most dire situations and then see very positive outcomes. And so as I would go out and talk to different groups and people like you and others, when I would end my conversations,
Uh-huh.
I would ask them, why do we do what we do?
Mm.
And people would look at me, and you know what? They'd give me that stare of the Wisconsin dairy cow. You know that stare looks like? they,
Uh-huh.
yeah, they wouldn't blink. They just got to look at me like, okay. And then
Give
I
up.
tell
Why
them,
do I do this?
yeah. And you know why,
Mm.
Joey? Because everyone matters.
Mm.
Because everyone matters.
Mm.
And so I saw how we could change healthcare for everyone. And that's what I named my company, Everyone Matters Inc. That's my website, everyonemattersonline.com. And Trusted Healers is a book in the spirit of everyone matters.
So tell me how your faith and Dan, your personal relationship with God through Christ makes it possible for you to be so passionate about everyone matters.
Well, I've always believed that we are about doing something for others. And for me, when I go back to the Bible for that important time, I usually go to the book of Daniel because that's my name, Daniel. And I just
Mm-hmm.
thought that that's what I was supposed to do. Of course, growing up in a faith-based Christian environment, I spent a lot of time studying. And so the thought to go for courage and strength and for wisdom and to do it in an environment where you're always giving back, I think
Mm.
it's very important.
Mm.
Philippians takes us there too. Philippians 2, 1.2, the idea of being in one with God, and everything that we do is singular in that way.
Mm.
And with that, I believe that you have that wind gets to your back
Mm.
when God is with you. And when you're thinking about things such as everyone matters, when you give, as Peter says, you give that type of relationship and commitment and what you do onto God. And when you're doing something right and you've got something going with you, I think every one of your listeners could probably say, I know what that feels like. That's
Mm-hmm.
God helping us. And that's what this is with Trusted Healers, is coming up with answers for people around the world and working with this individual, Dr. Paul Grundy, and my friend Patrick Kennedy on mental and behavioral health and the opioid challenge, and going on Dr. Oz and being able to tell people, no shame, no blame. Let us work together in love and be able to do that across audiences like Dr. Oz's show, which is the largest television audience, from 25 to 40 some odd, working with people like you to bring this message out.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully they get a chance to read the book and fundamentally change their life, thinking about moving into a medical home and helping their families become healthier.
So what does it take for me to move into a medical home, Dan?
Well, the first thing is you just got to know what it is. So
Okay.
they're certified, they're accredited. You can ask the questions when you talk to your primary care physician. Are you part of a medical home? What does that look like? And the reason you want that is because you can call and get an appointment anytime. And they're working with you on the continuum of care. And you can go see right away. My friend, Dr. Paul Grundy, told me a story the other day that I thought was really interesting. And that was someone told him that the medical home saved his life. And I said, Paul, how did it save his life? And he said, well, he wasn't in a medical home. He had read the book. He actually got involved with the system. And he had a weekend where he had an event. Something happened. He just didn't feel right. If he had called his normal physician, he wouldn't have been able to get in right away. Their offices were closed and it would have been challenging. Well, since he was in a medical home, somebody was there to be able to see him. They told him to come in. It sounds kind of serious, more than you might think. Sure enough, he had somewhat of a blockage. They took care of it. And they told him, if you hadn't come in, there's a high likelihood that you wouldn't have made it through the weekend. Now, that's obviously a situation that's an extreme situation. But the fact that this individual could go see their primary care physician, they moved them into the right situation right away. Some people would say that's what urgent care is for. Other people would say, oh, I can go someplace. But if the first time you go into that urgent care center is the first time they've seen you, Joey, they don't know much about you.
Yeah, there's not that trusted relationship there with a healer, right?
Trusted healer, right? And also in the book, I declare that the era of healthcare information is over. It's about healthcare intelligence. And if you're not in a system, your information's not in the system, then they don't have that intelligence to help you. And so the
Mm,
chances of you having a better outcome in the time that you want, it's not as good as if you're in a medical home where it's regular. They know your information's there. You have appointments scheduled. You can see an RN or a PA.
mm-hmm,
You have
mm-hmm.
nutritionists,
Yep.
people that can help you with stress. And so that's what we're calling out, is to look for those types of systems. And
Mm.
with that, you'll find better care. And they're there, Joey. They're there. They're
Okay.
absolutely there.
So we just have to ask our physicians, our primary care physicians, are you a part of a medical home? And it sounds like it's a much more personal relationship. And that's what the first Christian community was about anyway, when the medical profession
That's right.
actually existed inside of the Christian community there, right? Was
Well, you're so right. You're so right. And the other thing I want to say to you is
mm-hmm,
the listeners should
mm-hmm,
do it now. The reason is we have a shortage of these primary care physicians coming upon us. We
mm-hmm.
don't have enough nurses and physician assistants. And if you're in a medical home, go shake the hand of your primary care doc or give him or her a hug, for goodness sake,
Yeah.
because they're doing a great job of taking care of you. But if you don't go now, and this is what we're calling out, if you don't go now, the chances of those gates being open to you in the future are slim, because there's not going to be enough doctors, and you're not going to find that type of system. It's just going to be supply and demand. So we'd
Right.
like people to do this now and find these types of practices that
Right. And the
will
reason there's
help
going to
them.
be a shortage of these primary care physicians, I hear you saying, is because so many physicians are encouraged to become specialists, whether it's dermatology, oncology, hematology, anything, right?
Yeah, it's the culture, right? Because they think they can, and they can make more money as a specialist,
Sure.
and
And it's
and
that
then
illness
oftentimes,
model. Hmm.
yeah, it is that illness model. And they'll say to you, all I see is people with colds and things, and they all they want to do, quite honestly, is to take care of you. They took the credo and oath to do the right for health, and they want to treat you in a holistic way. They
Mm-hmm.
absolutely want to talk to you. Joey, in the beginning of time, the two most revered people in a tribe or a community, you know who they
Mm-hmm.
were?
Mm.
The spiritual leader and the medical leader. And
Mm.
in time, right now, as I'm saying this, if I
Mm-hmm.
say spiritual leader in the world, I think many people will go to maybe one of five people that they can call out and say, like Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And they might call out another name of
Mm-hmm.
someone that was major in the influence
Mm-hmm.
of a spiritual leader.
Yeah.
In healthcare, we can't do that.
Mm.
And so that's a challenge for us. So you want to have that personal relationship. Now, in tribes ahead of time, in the past, they knew exactly who that medical leader was. As a matter of fact, for many people listening right now, they might even say, my aunt was the medical leader. She
Yeah.
was the one that told
Yeah.
me to, rub Vicks vapor rub, no matter what the doctor had to say.
That's
This
right.
is
That
what
was
you
my
do.
grandmother. Vicks Vapor Rub cured everything. Right.
That's right. So there was a culture, right? And they knew you, and
Yep.
you might go see a doctor, but you'd come home and you were under her care, and she was, in fact, your trusted healer, right? She was
Yeah, she was. So
yeah,
what you're saying is to be more proactive, to put yourself in such a home environment with a primary care medical home environment, and form that relationship with your primary care doctor, establish that relationship so that they know
yeah.
your history and what all's going on with you, so that you can have someone to know you. What's something else we can do to put ourselves in a medical home?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One, I think that you can pay attention to six very specific measures about your blood pressure, about your glucose level. There's six or seven. Most people would say six of these numbers that you should know yourself and be able
Mm-hmm.
to measure yourself towards. And then there's two additional, so six plus two, with the
Uh,
six and then the plus two being in the medical home, being up to date on your vaccinations. And I hope everyone got that flu shot, because that flu A is what the flu shot took care of this year, but there's a flu B that's pretty potent as well. So I hope people do the things that we know help, such as immunization and being able to take care of themselves that way.
Right. Faith Positive Nation, Dan Pelino is the author of Trusted Healers. He has seen the best in healthcare and how we actually care for our bodies that the good Lord has entrusted to us as the temples that carry our spirits.
Yeah.
And that whole relationship, Dan, intrigues me between mind, body, and spirit. I'm sure looking at best practices from around the world in healthcare, you discovered that the spirit is very important in terms of the body and the mind.
Yes, absolutely. So all sorts of research shows how important spirit is to the healing process and development process. And then also this challenge that we have, mental and behavioral health and opioid challenges. Is, you want to put an arm around these people that struggle with this. Joey, you're not going to believe this, but in 2017, 90,000 people died from opioid challenges, and 70,000 of those were not under the care of a doctor.
What?
Yeah.
70,000 of 90,000 people that died from the opioid challenge were not under the care of a doctor. Oh, wow.
So let me tell you why we got here. So in the late 90s, people were prescribed these pain medications, these advanced pain medications, and we didn't think they were addictive. People didn't think they were addictive at all. And instead of giving 7 for a week, they gave 30, 60, 90. And guess what?
Yeah.
They were addictive. And then those people, they went to heroin. And from heroin, they went to fentanyl. Fentanyl can kill you.
Oh, very quickly. Yeah.
So when you think about, as you were talking about the mind, the physical aspect, the mind aspect, the spiritual side, all three of them have to work in concert, and they need to be fed and they need to be nurtured, and we need to be able to have the conversation. We have to have that spiritual conversation. We have to have that physical conversation. We have to have that mental conversation. And I would tell you right now, your listeners, if we asked them, most of them would say they only address 1 out of 3.
Yeah. And that's when they get sick, right? Physically.
They sure do.
Yeah, which is a sad part of it. So, Dan, how can I, as a Christian business professional in my workplace, how can I best minister to my coworkers to help them discover their best health?
Yeah, I would offer 3 things. First of all, the encouragement to see their primary care doc and to be able to take time off to do the things that they should do and have that well-rounded type of environment that includes the right kind of care, and then being able to refresh themselves and be able to take time off. And this includes whatever it might be, whether wife's having a baby or needing some attention for some others, but to have that type of environment, that culture that you create. The second is to have this level of compassion, to understand that we all don't have an easy go of it. And there's no shame, there's no blame. And when people have some of these feelings, to encourage them to not only express them, but to get some help. And there is no shame or blame. And then the third aspect that I would say is do it yourself. Be a role model.
Yeah. And
be a leader. Proclaim and do what you say.
Yeah, show by example how God has created us mind, body, and spirit, and care for all 3. And we as Christians in the workplace have an amazing opportunity to incarnate the gospel of Jesus Christ through that second thing that you mentioned, and that is compassion. Just somebody who's having a rough day or having a tough go of it, as you said, and just choosing to listen to them, whether it's in the cafeteria for lunch or whether it's taking them out to lunch or just bearing their burdens with them. How many people do you have that you can talk to about that kind of stuff? You as a Christian business professional in your community at work have an amazing opportunity to be Christ.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, another quick story here. It's Thanksgiving, and there's this individual. He looks more Eastern European than anything, and his actual name tag was Joey, Joey.
Oh, really?
It's really,
is this a true story?
It's a true story. When I tell you this story, you're going to have a tear in your eye. So here's what happens. So it's Thanksgiving, and we happened to be out for dinner. It was not a usual time, but we were having dinner, and I said, Joey, this is amazing. You're serving Thanksgiving. How long have you been doing this? He says, 26 years. I said, Joey, do you have a family? He says, yeah, I have 2 boys. One good, one not so good. So I said to him, I said, Joey, why do you do this? And he says, blue skies. And I said, blue skies. He says, I do it for my boys. And then I said, Joey, will you celebrate Thanksgiving? He says, yes, we will when I go home, when I'm done. Well, I had a little card in my pocket, and I took it out and I wrote blue skies, so I would always remember this story, this gift that this individual had given me. It was one of these types of restaurants where they said goodbye to us. We stood up and they kind of had a bit of a line. Usual to my spot, I was last in line, like what you and I were talking about before. Joey happened to be first in the last of the line. So I went by and I saw Joey's there and I thanked him. I said, Joey, you changed my life. And he says, looked at me kind of funny. And I took out the card and I showed it to him. I wrote down blue sky. And that's the gift he gave me. How many people, just by asking them their name and having them tell that we can give some compassion, and then in turn, they give us a gift.
Oh, yeah.
They give us a gift.
Yeah, what goes around literally comes around, doesn't it? Dan Pelino is my guest today, Faith Positive Nation on Faith Positive Radio. His book is Trusted Healers. Go get your copy. Dan, there are questions in the back of that book that we can take to our medical doctor appointments and we can ask. And so take better care of these amazing bodies, these temples that certainly house the image and likeness of Christ. Dan, what's a website that we can go to learn more?
Sure, www.everyonemattersonline.com. And you'll see a lot of information there. You'll see things that we believe in and some of the places where I've given speeches and some of the comments. And I also include all my Twitter. So it links directly. You can see things that I'm responding to in case you want to pick them up and look at them.
Wonderful. Everyone Matters Online. Yeah, everyonemattersonline.com is the website. And so Chuck's put that on Dan's page on our website at getpositive.today. So just go there and search for Dan Pelino. That's Pelino. Dan, Faith Positive Nation is always interested in hearing from our guest about a favorite Bible verse or Bible passage. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I've so enjoyed this conversation. And I mentioned too that I'll go to Daniel when I've got my the end of Peter, I think when Peter says and I wrote this down just because I want to share this to you at the end. To him be the glory and the power for over, ever and ever.
Oh,
amen.
Wow. Amen. Thank you, Dan. I so appreciate the information you've shared with us, the inspiration that you've provided to us as well, man. Trusted Healers is the book by Dan Pelino. Dan, thank you so much for the gift of your time and wisdom today. Look forward to reading your book even more, and I pray God's blessings on you and your amazing family.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Faith Positive Radio, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Suggest guests and ask questions when you email Dr. Joey at info@getpositive.today. And be sure to get your free gift of the 5 positive business conversations to have today coaching program at getpositive.today. Until next time, may God bless you with everything your heart can hope for and more than your mind can imagine.